Welcome, dear viewer. Thank you for joining us. We are now going to discuss on the 8 big mistakes that we do to the sick, or even the 8 big mistakes that the sick do. So I believe we are going to be enlightened together, because sometimes the sick don't die because of the disease they are suffering from, but the mistakes they do when they are sick, and those mistakes makes their condition to worsen. Once the condition worsens, they even lose hope more and more, day by day, and they end up dying. So it's good we know sometimes there are things that we do thinking that we are doing good, but sometimes we may be doing a very great mistake. So sometimes it's good to be enlightened, because we may do things thinking that we are doing the best to our loved ones, our friends, but we are affecting them negatively. So let's look at those 8 mistakes that we do. The first mistake is that we allow the sick allow themselves to sleep so long in the morning. They don't want to wake up early in the morning. They oversleep in the morning hours. That oversleeping, they don't get enough time to go and bask in the sun. So by not basking in the sun, by not getting that open air, the moving air, their condition worsens. Remember, by 8 these mistakes, we are discussing the same things we have been discussing on the 8 best doctors that do treat us. So the moment you deny the sick these 8 remedies, these 8 natural remedies that God created for our sick, their conditions gets worse. So in the morning hours, instead of them waking up and go outside bask in the sun, they just oversleep. Thus, by the time they are waking up, it's too late for them to go out to the sun. So you find that they take too long before they can go and bask in the sun. Sun is very important to our health. It improves our heart rates, our breathing system. It improves every system in the body. So by not getting enough sun, or by not basking in the sun, that is how they get affected. Their bones get weak. Everything in the system gets worse time by time. So the sick should not be allowed to oversleep in the morning. They should be woken up even as you wake up, so that they may get that time to go out, relax there outside, bask there, have some time outside the house, so that their mind can also be brightened. So the first thing you should do in the morning, wake them up. If they are sick in the home, wake them up, encourage them to go out to the sun. Even if they complain they are feeling cold, just encourage them that before they get, by the time is going, they will get warm. So do not encourage them to oversleep in the morning. Then also make sure by the time it's 4 p.m. in the evening, also encourage them to go outside in the sun again, so that they can get that sun rays. They contains a lot of help to our bodies. So that is mistake number 1, not allowing them to go and bask in the sun. Number 2, we deny them open air. Open air or fresh air can only be gotten when one is outside the house. But we often tell them that it is too cold there outside. You are not so strong to walk outside. So by not doing that, they keep in-house all through, thinking that oversleeping or sleeping all day long is going to strengthen their system. So by not going outside, their respiratory system gets affected. So they develop other complications that they did not have from the word go. So encourage them to always go outside to get that open air. Then open their windows and the doors of their bedrooms. Because if you don't do so, they are going to get affected. Because air is very important to our system. Without air, even if you take a lot of medicines. Air is the best purifier of our system. So you should not just let them stay inside. You don't open the windows of their bedrooms. You don't open the doors. You claim that it's too cold to open the doors. You close everything. They get damp. Their rooms gets damp. Once the rooms gets damp, that one affects even their breathing system, their blood pressure, everything. They get more and more. Then when you take them to the doctor says, hey, I can notice that this patient is developing some other issues, but you don't know. It's just a mistake, a small mistake that you are doing that could have been prevented. So that open air and the light that gets in when you open the windows and the doors is very important to them. Also, open air is very important to them. So do not assume that they should just get to stay in their beds. Then encourage the sick to stay outdoors most of the times. Do not think that they are so weak that they should just remain in their beds, on their beds. Let them do some activities outside. Even sometimes as if it's time for their meals, you may encourage them to go and take their meals outside, so that by that time before they finish, they will have gotten some enough air. Even remember, digestion needs oxygen. So you might be wondering why they are not having appetite. It is because the food is not being digested well, because they don't have enough air. So that is another mistake that we do to our sick. Another mistake we do to our sick is that we just keep them idle. They don't do anything. You claim that they are not strong enough to do anything in the house. Remember, by exercising our bodies, our mind also gets strong. The moment you give them some activities, as the activity they can be able to perform. If they cannot perform an activity in the house, you may encourage them to have a walk. You may even walk with them for some distance, so that they don't feel themselves that they are good for nothing. The moment they start feeling that they can do nothing, they just start losing hope. They just start losing interest in life. So you should always encourage them to get out, do some exercise as much as they can. Maybe what you should not do is that you should not give them vigorous exercises. But for those exercises they can manage, you should give them frequently. If it is the home activity, the house activities, if they feel like they can wash the dishes, you should not prevent them from that. Encourage them to do what they feel that they can do. Don't tell them, oh, just sit there, you know you are sick. The moment you start, you continue repeating those words, they sink deep in their minds and they see themselves helpless. They see themselves useless. And the moment the mind is fed that, it gets weak, that desire to live fades away. So that is why you start hearing them saying, I wish I should die. I don't know why I should be suffering like this. I'm good for nothing. I don't help even my children. So you should always encourage them that whatever they can do, let them do. Whatever condition they could be having, let them do that something little they can do. So that is another mistake we do. We deny them exercise, which is very important to our health. And by not exercising our bodies, their mind also get weak. Our bodies sympathizes. Once your mind is affected, the body gets affected. Once the body is affected, the mind also gets affected. So the best thing to do is to keep yourself active from activity to another, so that you don't just sit down and start thinking of yourself. The more you think about yourself too much, the condition is worsening. But the moment you perform some duties, some activities, you just find yourself forgetting yourself, concentrating on other things, and thus you get yourself strengthening the mind and the body at the same time. So that is another mistake we do. Another thing we do, sometimes we don't encourage them to trust in God. Sometimes we speak too much of the doctors they see, the medicines they use. So most of the time they don't have that moment of trusting in God. Most of the time you say, oh, I don't think this medicine is helping my maybe my parent, my mother, my daddy. You start discussing that in their presence. So they feel as if God is not intervening in their case. So that is another big mistake we do. You should always encourage the sick that it is God who is working through those doctors and through those medicines. So if you have something to discuss, you should discuss it when they are not present. Just find your time, go discuss about those issues, about the hospital, about the doctor. But once the patient himself or herself is present, stop those issues. Just encourage them to trust in God that the medicine they are using is going to help them. So the moment they hear you saying that, I think we should change that doctor, we should change that hospital. No, they start creating that mentality that their condition is not getting well. They even start wondering why you should be suffering because of them, why you should be taking too much care of them. They start saying that, just let me stop taking this medicine. Even me, I can see that the medicine is not helping me. The moment you start hearing that from them, know that their hope is fading away. So we should be very careful on how we speak in their presence. Even in their absence, always trust in God. Don't go and see a sick person in the hospital, then you get outside the hospital saying that, oh, that one cannot survive for long. That one is just counting hours. He or she is just counting days. Remember the angel, your guardian angel was there when you were encouraging that patient. Then when you get outside, you are saying different things. God sometimes is just feels angry with us because we don't mean our words. So I'm not saying that you should tell the sick they are dying directly, but when you encourage them knowing that God is going to do his will and his will is righteous. So don't just go saying that, I have seen this and that from that patient, I don't think he's going to survive. It is his or her life is not in your hands. It is in God's hand. So whenever you see a situation in a certain patient, it is not your duty to discuss that situation. It is your duty just to trust in the Lord that he is going to do his will on that patient. So even if they inquire where they are improving, just tell them that God loves them and he knows their case. Just encourage them that the will of God is always righteous and that his will is that we get well for his glory. So just encourage them to continue using their medication, trusting in God. But don't start telling them that, oh, I see you are just losing weight. I see your condition is not getting well. I see that as if now you are not, before you are not vomiting, now you are vomiting. I don't know what is happening to you. So the moment you start speaking negative words, that is how they get worse and worse, because they remove their trust in God and see the magnitude of their problem, and that is very wrong. They should always trust in God and look unto God for help and healing. So that is another big mistake we do. So we should rectify that mistake. Another mistake we do is about resting. And that one we can do it in two ways. Either we do overwork them, not allowing them to rest, or else we do allow them to rest so much. We always say that temperance is in all ways. So if you work, don't overwork. If you rest, do not rest excessively. So in everything we do, we should do it with temperance. So mostly the sick are allowed to oversleep, just to sit down the whole day. maybe the only thing they can do is watching TV, listening to the radios. Maybe they are involved in social medias if they can, but that is not good for them. Our bodies are meant to exercise, and by exercising, that is when they are getting more and more strong. So do not allow them to overwork. At the same time, do not allow them to be idle. Always give them some duties to do. Then do not allow them into a certain activity for long, because that is going to overwork every system in their body. So you may change their activities. If it is watching the TV, let them watch for some minutes. Then change the activity, change the settings of, maybe you may tell them that we have watched the TV for long now, let's go outside and do this and that. Just encourage them to another thing. But if you allow them to remain in a certain activity, if you allow them to use one of their senses for long without using the other senses, that is going to affect them. Always encourage them to use different senses so that they can get stronger and stronger. So they should also if they should not be allowed to overwork, because some overwork, their physical capability is now narrowed in a way. So if they overwork, their system will not concentrate in the process of healing. It will concentrate in the work they are doing. So just allow them to do some work, but not overworking, so that the body can have time to concentrate in the healing process. So if whatever thing they may be doing, whether it is good, it should not be done in excess. Then another thing we do, we say that the sick should not come across lots of water, mostly maybe because it's too cold, maybe because they feel they don't need the water, maybe because they feel that the water is not important, or maybe they think that the other drinks they are using, the other liquids, are enough. But that is another very big mistake we do. Whenever you are going to the hospital, maybe to visit them, it's good we go with some other things, but also, even as the doctors say, you should allow them to use more water than anything else. And that is why you find that sometimes they receive that water by drips, which is not the best way. Now, it is important, whenever you have a sick person around you, encourage them to use a lot of water. Remember, water is the best cleanser, inside and out. So allow them to use a lot of water as they can. Allow them to, after some few minutes, allow them to have a glass of water. Then you stay for some time, another glass of water, so that the system can continually be cleansed. Without water, even if you take the most expensive medicines, it may not help you, because the water is the best cleanser. It is the most cleanser of the system. So without water, you may be doing other things without enough help from them. So as much as they have other liquids to take, water should be the most appreciated. So remember God, when God was creating, everything that He created was wonderful. So before we knew of making other drinks, before we knew of how we can do other things, God had already given us water. And He knew it was very enough for our system. So the moment you deny the sick water, giving him or her other liquids, you may be harming more than helping. So you should help them take water frequently, then encourage them to take showers. Sometimes you say, oh, they are weak, they should not go to shower frequently. But the moment they stop taking those showers, the skin, remember the skin is one way of removing, it is one of the organs that removes toxins and other wastes from the body. So if all those things comes from outside from the skin, then you can imagine if you don't take shower, the system will not be functioning well because the skin will not be all right. The skin will be, it will be like it's not breathing. So the moment you reach that point, they start even complaining of tiredness. The tiredness is not coming from the disease they are suffering from, but it is coming because they do not cleanse their system internally and externally. So every day, even as much as you yourself is taking showers, also they should take showers. If they cannot walk, do it for themselves, for them. Maybe if they are in the worst condition, you may take your basin of water and everything you need, then go take care of them at their bed, so that at least the skin can be cleansed from those waste that comes out through the skin. So do not say that they should not get their showers. Then instead, sadly, the sick are often told that water is too cold for their sick body. But it is not good, even if you are not in, even if your health is okay, it is not good you take cold water. Cold water is not the best for your system. The temperature of the stomach is warm, and the best thing to do to the stomach or to your digestive system is to give it warm water, because the temperature is warm inside. So even if you are not sick, even if you are sick, always take warm water, especially in the morning and in the evening. During the day, the water is always at room temperature, so it's always okay even if you take it cold. But for the sick, always warm the water for them, even during the hot weather, because you may think that water is okay for them, but for them, the system is already weak, so they need to take care of everything. So just warm them, that water, take them, encourage them to use that water. So don't make that mistake of thinking that the sick do not need water. Then do not wait them to complain that they are thirsty. Complaining whenever you feel thirsty, that is a method of your body telling you that you are doing a lot of harm to it. Just always take water even before you feel thirsty. Water should be the best beverage, and it is the most available, and we thank God for that. It is the most cheapest beverage. So always encourage them to put water at a reachable position where they can reach even without maybe disturbing you, because sometimes they feel as if they are disturbing their caregivers. So that is another mistake we do. Another thing we do, we don't teach them to be temperate. Maybe sometimes they feel like, I want this and that, we supply them with this and that. Sometimes they feel that I don't want to eat this and this, and I don't want to do this and that, and we just allow them to be like that. But that is wrong. It is a very wrong idea to think that the sick should be supplied with whatever they wish, even if it is injurious to their health. Maybe sometimes they may think they need something, but at that time they don't need that something. Sometimes the doctor may say, this patient should not eat this and this and this. So, but because their appetite, maybe they are used to that thing, they start asking for it. Then you do hide and seek to the doctor. You bring that thing they are asking for, and you just tell them not to allow the doctor to know they are eating that something. But it is their health that you are harming. The doctor has been given a lot of knowledge by God, so you should not do against their directions or their counsels. Then, even if the best things should be given, they should be given in moderation. Remember, during sickness, the system is already weak. So you should not overfeed them. Don't keep on feeding them frequently. That is not going to improve their health. It is going to be injurious to their health, because the system should concentrate much more on the cure of the sickness than the digestion of food. Just make sure the food you give them is nutritious enough, so that even if they eat a small amount, and even if they eat few meals, that food they get is helpful to their body. But the moment you start feeding them frequently, maybe after 2 hours you give them this, and after other 2 hours you give them this. Before 2 hours are by 2 hours, digestion has not even it is not even half complete. Then you introduce another thing to the stomach. The stomach gets confused. They start developing stomach complications. They start complaining, I'm feeling this and that. At the beginning, they didn't have that issue. But because of that mistake of maybe overfeeding them or frequently feeding them, they develop other issues. So it's good you make sure that you give them nutritious food, so that even if they eat few meals, it will be of great help to them, and it is going to improve their health. And the best food for the sick are the fruits, because the fruits revives the body. Those vitamins found in the fruits are very important to the body. They improve the immunity. Once the immunity is improved, the body is able to fight the ailment or the disease it's suffering from. So do not think it is a show of love when you supply them with whatever they demand, even if it's your children. Sometimes children get tricky when they get sick, because they know you want them to be happy and to be revived. You just ask them, what do you want? What can I buy for you? They say anything that they have not eaten in the recent times. So that one is not going to help them in their recovery. So they should be taught to be temperate. So in everything you do, always know that. Always ask yourself, am I doing this one to the improvement of the patient, or will I do this and it is going to worsen the condition? Let us always ask God for guidance. Every moment, let us continually ask God to guide us on how we should treat our sick, so that day by day they get new hope. The more they get new hope every day, the more they get well soon. But the more their conditions worsen, I'm sorry, the more their condition worsens, the more they lose hope. So it is good we take care of them with a lot of cautiousness, so that they may recover quickly and go back to their activities. Whenever one is sick, they just keep asking themselves, how maybe my business is affected, I might lose my job, I might lose this and that. So it is good for them to feel hopeful every day, so that they can recover and go back to their activities. Every moment, keep on encouraging them to trust in God. Keep on telling them the promises that God has given us. So you have to be afraid to the word of God. We must read them the Bible. Remind them of how God, or what God did to people in the Bible. Give them also testimonies of people you know that they were sick and they got well. And if they ask you some questions like, what if I die? Do not deny that they may die. But you should encourage them that it is the will of God that we live. But even if it is His will we die, we should die with hope that this world is not the end of everything, but there is a city to come, the New Jerusalem, where we shall never die anymore. So if they ask you questions concerning death, you should not avoid them. You should not get discouraged. You should not start crying. Start telling them, oh, don't mention that. You know we love you so much. We would not like you to die. Yes, of course, that is the real case. No one should wish his or her relative or friend to die. But if they ask you that question, just tell them that it is the will of God that we live. But if he allows us to die, he allows us, but that does not mean that he don't love us. The best thing we should do is that we should prepare ourselves so that even if we may die in the hope of resurrection. By that, you are preparing them so that in any case they do not make it in life. Even if they sleep, even if they die, they will die with the hope of resurrection. But if you deny that and then they die, you will have denied them that hope. So it's good. When they are sick, they don't have that too much hope. Sometimes they may rely on your hope. So keep on praying for them, keep on encouraging them, keep on reading the promises of God to us that are found in the Bible, so that every day they get hope. Every day they know even if they die, there is some more hope in the city of God.